Hey everyone, welcome back to Knowledge is Key. I am your host, Kei Renee, and over here is Disco. We're a few shows in. This is cute.
You know.
How does it feel?
We just staying consistent. Shout out to Eddie Earl. Shout out to Dublin's.
Did you give him? Did you put his real name this time?
Oh, my bad.
Okay.
The Emperor. Shout out to the Emperor. The Emperor R&B.
Okay.
Yeah. Also,
shout out to Dublin. Shout out to El Patron. Shout out to the Vault.
Shout out to the team. You know, the guys, Ethan, Oliver in the back doing their thing.
You can't see them, but they're switching these boards like switch over there. And we're just over here like, yep.
Teamwork make the dream work.
Yes. So shout out to the team. We definitely learned that in one of our last episodes about building a team. And we definitely, I would say we have a solid team over here. So
100%.
We vibe for real. So today we're going to be vibing. We're going to be having a smooth, maybe dankish conversation. We're going to be talking all about the cannabis industry today. So if you are trying to tap into the cannabis industry or you are in the cannabis industry, you definitely want to make sure that you get your pen, your paper out, because we have someone who's in the cannabis industry, not only has a brand in the cannabis industry, but is working with his brand to help create change in the cannabis industry for brown, black, African American, all of us, light skin, white skin, whatever, everyone in the cannabis industry, just making it more regulated and just making sure that everything's good. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest today. So we have Madison Shockley, and he said I have to say the third, the co-founder of the co-founder of Cadre Cannabis, and I'm going to read it off here because it is a lifestyle product and cannabis brand.
That's right.
Hey!
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Everyone, let's give him a round of applause for sitting in all that traffic. Yeah. Welcome to Knowledge is Key. I was smelling this as you were filling up
How
the
you like
bag.
It smell good?
Yeah, it was like, okay. He almost had the whole room in a
I came in
and a fog.
Got a good smell in here with me.
You did. So tell me, what prompted you to get into the cannabis industry?
Well, I've been in cannabis my whole life since I was a teenager. Really, I started smoking when I was probably around 14 years old, and I started selling weed by around 15, 16 years old, like a lot of my friends, in high school.
Young entrepreneur right there.
As a side hustle. It was washing cars in the neighborhood or selling weed.
Hey man, you know what I mean?
I did both.
You gotta wash your money somehow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But in terms of the commercial cannabis industry, I got involved in that about 5 years ago when I learned about the Cannabis Social Equity Program in Los Angeles. And basically, when the state of California went legal for the recreational market, it created a system where all the cities in California got to create their own licensing program for cannabis. And so the city of LA created a program that was designed to prioritize people who have been victims of the war on drugs and give them priority in commercial licensing. So that's, retail dispensaries, distribution companies, cultivation licenses, the whole cannabis supply chain. And it's a highly regulated industry, so it's a little complicated to explain in detail sometimes, but I got in about 5 years ago and have learned a lot about dealing with government,
I bet.
Building highly regulated businesses, and then helping other people along the way in the process.
Yeah, I mean, I know a few people who went through that social equity program, but I feel like it was very tough. I mean, and honestly, one of my friends just got his license approved. Yeah. It's been like 5 years.
Yes.
Of like trying for him to like go through the process.
And he's one of the few who have made it that far. I'm sure, right? Yeah. 5 years ago they sold it as a big dream to a lot of people that this program is going to help change a lot of lives, and a lot of people are going to get wealthy fast, and it didn't pan out like that, like the city and the state kind of sold it to people.
Why not? Because that was like when it first happened. You know what I mean? I mean, people doing it on the street level was like, you know, everybody was booming doing it. So when this comes in, you know, automatically you think like, oh, now we legally gonna be able to do it. Everybody about to make money and not have to hide it. So why did it not pan out that way?
I think there's a lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, regulators and the city kind of failed on their promise to deliver to help people who are victims get priority. And it started early on in the process. Instead of giving victims of the war on drugs licenses first, what they did was they grandfathered in existing dispensaries that were part of the medical market. And so they gave 200 licenses
to them
first, right? And so they were able to establish themselves in the market. Out of those 200, only 4 or 5 of them were black owned, right?
Wow.
So
which is like crazy to me. Like it is crazy to me that like technically African Americans created the blueprint for the, what is the term? What do you have to say? The marijuana, or to be all correct and stuff now, like, you know, but created the blueprint on that cannabis. Yeah, cannabis, long ass word. But like created the blueprint on like how to have a business in this market, and we were like shunned for it, locked up for it, and now it's like this blueprint has been given to people of you know, of lighter hue, or people of, you know, like
we
people
took all
who,
the risk.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
we paid
had
the price.
Yeah.
We went to jail over and over again. We had that on our records, and that followed us throughout life in so many different ways. And you know, the government specifically targeted Black and brown communities with these arrests, with high arrest rates of, you know, cannabis convictions, and then that was a way to hold us back economically, because then every time you apply for a job, you got to check that box, you know, and so that was just a way that they used to hold us back and oppress us.
It's kind of funny. It's just hitting me, the irony and the fact that you know, in the war on drugs and everything, it was like mostly like them coming after Black, brown people, but when they giving out these licenses,
they're going straight to everyone else. Like,
so, but that goes to show that they've been in the mix themselves. You know what I mean?
No,
right? They didn't just pop out. You know what I mean? Right. So.
No, I mean, it is real. Like, you know, but to me, I still think it's like a little comical whenever I'll see like, what do you say, Caucasian wives or whatever, like, oh yeah, my husband, he's in the cannabis industry, he has a I'm like, he's a drug dealer. Your husband is a drug dealer. Like, let's call a spade. He is a drug dealer. I know you don't want to say it because it doesn't feel right to you, but he is a legal drug dealer, ma'am.
Listen, if it's legal, ain't nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean?
Now, so it's cool.
We're trying to take some of the stigma
away.
You know what I'm saying? Because it is not federally legal yet. That's something that we're working on. You know, but it's legal in over 33 states across the country. Yeah. Whether medically or recreationally.
Word.
And so things are trending that way. Other countries around the world have gone legal in anticipation of the United States going legal. It's one of the fastest growing new industries. You know, it's a big deal. There's billions of dollars in this industry. Yeah.
You know, I'm curious to know this, right? Because it you know, clearly it's not federally legal, but it is legal, right? But you still see people doing it in, I guess, a non-regulated way. Is that what we're gonna call it? Yeah. Like even some of the people doing it at like sessions or any of that kind of stuff, right? Like, how does that work with the market? And are those people still making money on that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're making a lot of money. They're making more money than the people in the legal market a lot of times.
Really?
Yeah, because the legal market there's a lot of regulations and there's a lot of taxes, and the illicit market doesn't have to deal with all that.
Right.
So, and then also it's been decriminalized. So the penalty
right.
But there's not easy pathways from people to go from the illicit market into the commercial market, because social equity programs haven't been everything that they've been cracked up to be. It's helped people like myself, so I don't want to completely just talk negative about social equity programs. It's definitely changed my life and other people through a lot of hard work and ingenuity and blood, sweat, and tears. But it created that crack, that pathway for me to slip through the door. But yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement.
Gotcha.
Do you feel like with you being African American yourself and having a brand and trying to navigate through this cannabis industry, the regulated cannabis industry, but then also fighting for change, do you feel like you feel extra pressure on yourself to be like the brand of brands, so that when people are looking at the brand who's fighting for them, that they like have something bigger to look for, if that makes any sense?
The brand of brands in the sense of
like that all your ducks gotta be like tight and sealed, and because it's like you're out here not only building this cannabis brand, which you have so many extensions, which we'll talk about, but now we're looking at you like, okay, you're fighting for us, and now you're kind of like now the role model brand for brands,
Yeah, well, I think from a standpoint of like morally and how and a conduct standpoint, like I definitely feel like there's a responsibility in those regards, because essentially as a social equity company, I'm a beneficiary of these social equity policies, and the whole purpose of these policies is to create fairness.
Yeah.
And so, as somebody who's a beneficiary of that, I feel a responsibility to my community, a responsibility in terms of my conduct as a business leader, to do things right.
Yeah. I mean, what can you say if there was something that within the social equity program, because I know you did go to fight for some change. So what exactly were you fighting for, and what change were you able to help with?
Quite a few things. And when I first got into this business, I didn't know that there was going to be so many things that needed to be fought for or, made sure were in place. But, one thing about this business, especially as a new industry, the government is still figuring out how to regulate it.
Right.
And so this is the type of industry where if you're a business owner, you also have to be involved in the legislation around it, because every legislative change affects your business. Right. So that's I've learned pretty early on in this endeavor that, government relations, lobbying, advocating, organizing in your community to create change on a local level, whether it be in the city council. There's a cannabis commission for the city.
What is that? People don't even know that.
Yeah, so there's a few different departments that the city uses to regulate and administer the licensing programs in Los Angeles. So you have the Department of Cannabis Regulation.
Okay.
And they manage the licensing and enforcement of the cannabis laws on the commercial cannabis businesses in Los Angeles. And then you have the Cannabis Commission, which is responsible for approving licenses, and also it's a body that can recommend to the city council different recommendations for what laws should be and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You sound like a whole politician.
Man,
This man started smoking weed at 14, 15, selling it. I don't know how old you are now, but whole politician in the game.
It's good weed. You gotta smoke good weed.
But that's dope, man. That's dope, because it shows how honestly you speaking already just takes a lot of the stigma away from what comes with cannabis, and even honestly how I even look at it, you know what I mean, in this industry, because it sounds like if you're doing it at the level you're doing it at, you're not just out here just growing flower, open up a shop and then selling it. It's like you got to really know what's going on in the industry and everything, and that takes a real leader to be on top of everything. You got to
know what's going on in the industry. You got to know what's going on legislatively. You know, from a legal standpoint, and it takes a lot of capital.
Right.
So you got to know like fundraising.
Right.
You know, I just launched this brand. It's called Cadre, and I also am opening a dispensary next week.
Yep, congrats. That's been in the making.
In South LA. I partnered with the family-owned dispensary chain called Off the Charts.
Okay.
And so it's Off the Charts, powered by Cadre.
Nice.
It's on 61st and Avalon. It's going to be opening in a week, and we'll have a grand opening about a month after that. And so, yeah, it's something I've been working towards for 5 years now.
Oh man!
Yeah,
Congrats up to you for that.
That's
big.
Like, people don't even be realizing like the time and effort it takes into just like getting your visions out there in the process of opening up your shop. Because I know sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to open up a dispensary. It ain't nothing. And I know it's a lot.
It's a lot.
What are some things that maybe you dealt with that people don't even realize that you have to deal with when you're trying to open up a dispensary?
Sure. So licensing is limited. So first you have to like apply for the licensing, which is a whole maze in itself, right? And so first I had to qualify as a social equity person because that's who they were issuing licenses to. Qualified for that because I was previously arrested, so I had that conviction, and then also once you get selected for the license, because not everybody that's designated social equity gets a license.
Right.
Yeah.
So once you get through that gauntlet and you get your license, then a whole nother very capital intensive process begins, where it starts with property. You got to find a properly zoned property in Los Angeles that's compliant for commercial cannabis, right? And so there's already all these different land use restrictions.
Right.
You know, you can't be within 1,000 feet of a school or a church or a library or all these different things.
I knew the school. I didn't know about the church and the library.
Yeah.
Well, don't quote me on all of these. It's definitely a school.
I'm trying to think. They like we get out of
it's
church.
changed. Like I think libraries, it's like 600 feet, and you know certain parks and different stuff like that. You can't be too close to a drug rehab center.
I can imagine because they're gonna relapse.
You can't be close to a children's daycare center, stuff like that. You know, so
Got you.
You gotta
be in no man's land.
Not necessarily. Like you just gotta look at all the different layers of maps and find properties that are in pockets
Just like
that is a certain proper distance from all those different restrictions.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first kind of thing you gotta.
And I imagine too that it's not like it's a bidding war for that because it's
it's only like if you're a property owner with one of those properties in those zones, you know.
Yeah. Hey, my guy, look. I know what you're here for.
And the value's probably going up because they know what you're trying to come and do.
That's right.
So they're gonna probably be adding extra tax on it just because they know it's like limited property.
On average, you're gonna pay 3 to 5 times the regular rental rate that a normal business would pay for that property. Because you're cannabis, they tax you 3 to 5 times the rent.
That's crazy. So I'm already adding up why the street dude is still kind of out here winning. Let me ask you this, right? So once you do get your space, you know what I mean. I'm curious about the flower and you know obviously you got to stock your room. Mm-hmm. Do you have like your own specific flower as you do? Mm-hmm. But how do you create that and like if it was like a random person, how do they create their own like flower brand?
Yeah, so the whole supply chain is broken up into pieces and it's all regulated. And they have a system called track and trace, which basically tracks the flower from seed to once it's in the bag in the store and once it's sold. Right? And so to grow the flower, there's a license called a cultivation license type. And so that allows you to grow. Right? And then there's a distribution license that you need to transfer from the grow to the manufacturer or to the retail, like that. So I'm actually partnered with another social equity owned cultivator and manufacturer called Green Label. And so they were one of the earliest companies to get a social equity license once things went legal.
Right.
And they got a cultivation license. Actually, they got what's known as a micro business license, which is multiple license types put together. So they got cultivation, manufacturing, and distribution.
Can I ask you if they were?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're black.
Okay,
yeah.
I was like, that sounds like something we can't get.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is one of the few that got it and has built it up into one of the most state-of-the-art, biggest cannabis grows in the country. Really.
Well, congratulations to them.
Yeah.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to Green Label. We're blessed to have partners with such scale and capacity on like the manufacturing front. And also for them to be, of color, black like us, and for us to be able to do business together. We're trying to be an example of black businesses working together.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and so let's go on to Cadre.
Sure.
What separate? Your packaging is actually really cute, by the way.
Thank you.
It wasn't really hard to open. I mean, honestly, all weed is hard to open, but this one's a little easier. Straight access. I don't be knowing what to smell for y'all, but tell me about like what makes the difference in this brand.
Yeah, so first of all, the name Cadre, the word cadre was popular in the civil rights movement. It meant like a member of a revolutionary organization. It's like the core members that were the backbone of the movement, the people who were the most dedicated and talented organizers were considered cadre. Okay. And so in my readings of people like Huey P. Newton, one of the co-founders of the Black Panther Party, when he talks about cadre being the type of people that are going to be the people who build and execute like the future, like the people that are going to be the ones who carry out the new vision of what we want the world to be. Those are cadre, Nice. So just reading about our history and movements to create change and freedom and prosperity for our people came across this word and this term, cadre. And so that's the spirit in which we're building this company. Because for me, it's about the product, but it's about the product being something that we use for our people to grow and enhance economically. Wow. And so now that cannabis is recreationally legal and there's an industry, and we already built this thing called cannabis or marijuana or weed, whatever you want to call it. We already built that up into economic resource that the world wants and values. I mean, cannabis is probably worth more than its weight in gold, So I actually, not these days, the price has gone down a bit in the California market. So don't quote me.
Well, I mean, but in the tech, for all fairness with the cannabis, I mean, you can't smoke gold, and regrow it. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Much more utility.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
Go. And you guys, on the back of his packaging, it says "For the people." Or the people, the culture, the revolution.
Yes.
And even just from listening to you, like, explain, like, how pure and how deep you went into coming up with the name and the messaging behind it, it kind of made me feel like if I smoke the weed, I'm going to change the world.
I love that. That's the point.
That's what that made me feel like I need to smoke.
Well, while you're changing the world, smoke this weed.
That was like the energy I was feeling like I need to smoke this weed. So I can be a part of.
Yeah. Yep. That's how we envision our product helping serve our people. As y'all are world changers, just with what y'all do, you know. And so this is just to help fuel that. We're coming out with a drink soon, a Cadre cannabis infused drink with some wonderful flavors. Like, you won't taste no cannabis aftertaste. Like,
I'd be afraid of like drinking, eating weed. It just does something different in your system. I definitely had a trip, a bad one.
Ooh,
like,
you gotta,
I was talking to myself within myself.
Dosage.
Within myself. It was 3 of me. It was bad. I was so afraid. But before we wrap and we go, I do want you to touch on the vendors compensation program, because it's something new, and I think it's something that people in the industry
this is some nerdy stuff. You want to nerd out?
I just want to know more about it. I mean, especially because like, if you're flying in and out lobbying for things like this, I feel like if you're getting into the cannabis industry, these are things that are benefiting you, and you need to kind of understand and know about it.
Yeah. So last year, I serve as the president of this organization called the Cannabis Equity Policy Council.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
And so it's made up of different cannabis equity advocacy organizations and entrepreneurs from across the state of California. And it's basically our way of having representation in the state capitol and local capitals when it comes to legislation, having a voice in legislation. So last year, my organization led on a bill that created what's called a vendor compensation program. And the point of the bill was to reduce the amount of taxes that social equity businesses, particularly retail businesses, have to pay, because there's state tax, which is 15% excise tax.
Right.
There's the local city tax, which is another 10% in LA, and then you got your sales tax, and it just taxes.
It sound like zero left over.
Yeah. So this vendor compensation program, what it did was basically reduced the excise tax from the state that equity businesses have to pay from 15% down to 12%. Right, so in the aggregate, that's a 20% difference,
right,
in what you have to pay. And so we got that bill passed. Governor signed it into law, and the state government allocated $20 million of the budget that year to fund that program. So at the end of 2023, social equity businesses will be able to apply for a rebate on their taxes, and they'll either get that 20% back, or they won't have to pay it in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah. So
nice.
just more.
So we
money
putting money back into the pockets.
Let me ask you this,
man.
And feel free not to answer, not to answer. How long you do?
What's that?
When you got locked up, how long you do?
I spent 5 days in county. I think it was a county jail down in Vista, down in San Diego.
Okay, so it was some like small stuff, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, when I got arrested, I had like a quarter pound of weed on me, and I had a couple scales.
Gotcha. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is the only reason I asked him that is because everybody in the weed industry. Y'all better be happy this brother didn't go down. y'all better be happy.
I wasn't locked up for 10 years.
Right. Y'all better be happy y'all got him on your side right now.
Yeah. But you know, I still have it on my record. I haven't gotten it expunged.
From just being there 5 days?
Yeah, for
for the
charge. Yeah, ultimately I pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor, so I wouldn't have to face the potential of a trial, and 3 years is what I potentially could have got. And so, and then I'm young. I don't have a bunch of money for a lawyer. In hindsight, if I had money and I knew, maybe I would have fought it and probably could have beat it, and I had no record.
Yeah.
But that's part of how the system works to get us, right? Because they're like, look, we're gonna put these big charges on you. You may not, probably don't deserve it, but we'll get you to plea out, and it'll never go to trial. We'll scare you. We'll get you to plead guilty to something lesser, But then once you plead guilty to that lesser thing, it's still something that's on your record.
It's on your record forever, though.
And that's how they keep you down forever.
Right.
Because every time I've applied for, that's one of the reasons I'm an entrepreneur. I couldn't get a job in corporate America.
That's the reason why, like, a lot of people who end up coming out of like the prison system, like, I definitely like want and encourage all to invest into. Just giving information to people who are coming out of prison on what entrepreneurship is like. And I even tell my little brother who just got out like maybe 2 months ago, like, bro, you need to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. Like,
Dang, he's telling his whole business.
He'll be all right. And like, he shouldn't.
Business 101.
But it's like, learn, because it's like, don't be like, you don't have to be defeated by like, oh, I can't get a job here, I can't do that, I can't do that. Okay, cool. God got a new route for you. Yes. It's called ownership, independence. It's called build your own now, and it's cool. Like, a lot of people are doing it, but it's just like just giving that information and giving that information to people who might feel a little down and out, and coming out.
Definitely. Definitely.
We all
any people getting out, interested in the cannabis industry, feel free to reach out to me, or we'll put my email in the info section or whatever.
Oh, he an editor now.
Definitely. I'm telling y'all where to put my info and everything.
Yeah. We'll definitely have him tap in with you. And everyone who's been tuning in, I know this was like not our normal kicks and giggles. I might smoke some weed after this so I can, lighten the mood a little bit, do a little tense. But we appreciate all you guys for checking in with us. Please, in the comments, let us know what you guys learned. If there's anything else you guys want to ask Madison, anything that you need us to connect you to, we'll definitely figure that out for you. Madison, we thank you so much for coming and sitting with us.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
If there's anything that you want to leave cannabis entrepreneurs with, what word of advice would you give to them?
Business 101 is find your competitive advantage. And the cannabis industry is one, if not the only industry where Black people have a competitive advantage because of this legislation that exists with social equity. So I would say, let's take advantage of that. Let's build a supply chain. Let's get as much market share in this new industry as we can, because there's no other industry where Black people have more than 1 or 2% market share. Let's make it different. Let's own this industry. So I'll leave y'all with that, and visit our website at www.thecadre.com or our Instagram at jointhecadre.
All right, bet. Disco, you have any last words of sentiments?
Nah, I said what I needed to say. I'm just happy this brother is out here in these streets making it happen. You know what I mean?
Thank you for the encouragement, man.
And I'm glad that he came and sat with us and took time out of his day to come and sit with us. And we're happy that all of you guys take time out of your day to listen to us, to vibe with us. We're going to have so much more coming up, so be sure that you guys tune in for more Knowledge is Key coming up. But for now, smoke something, roll something. If you don't know how to roll, go get one of them little things that roll for you. Okay. This is Disco. I'm Kei Renee, and this is Knowledge is Key.